We have 20 seconds. Two seconds.
That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. Joining our live streaming audience there, Facebook, Periscope, Apple TV, LinkedIn, YouTube Live. We appreciate each and every one of you. How are you tuning in? We want to know, actually. Yeah, let us know how and from where. If we don't already, we have a regular breakfast club that we join with us each and every day here on the morning show. And if you're a new one, just say hi and say, because we love to say hello to each and everybody and make new friends. I know a lot of people on our program make new friends, and some connect and they reconnect, and some get to connect on Facebook and say, hey, and then some people are like, no, I don't want to connect with anybody. Although somebody that is willing to connect with a lot of people, especially on Twitter, we got to go blow up his Twitter. If everybody gets a Twitter account, we need to blow it up. It's Jesse Sanchez in the house. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
And Jesse's new to Twitter.
Yes, I am.
Is there anything that you find difficult to use on Twitter? Because I feel like Twitter, for some people, they thought it was going away at some point. I've always heard people go, it's old. And I go, it's never going to be old if there's people on it. And, well, there's a lot of stuff on it. So is there anything I can help you with?
I'm just exploring, looking at new things, trying to steer away from the hateful people, because a lot of them tend to hide behind their little Twitter handles and fake pictures.
There's a lot of hate on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. There's so much hate. Like on Facebook, that's why I like Facebook majority of the time, because I get friend requests all the time. And if I get a friend request with like a picture of somebody that isn't them, you know what I mean? Like you get all those like ladies friend requesting you, you're like, that's a fake profile, right? There's those too, but there's a lot of ones like have fake, like everything. You can't even tell who the person is, right? And they hide behind that on Twitter. So that's the part I don't like about Twitter. I will say you're right about that. You got to stay away from those. So you know what? Block them or unfriend them or unfollow or whatever. But one of the things I love about Twitter is the retweeting aspect, right? So you can retweet other people, right? And you give them a little plug, or you could comment, right? And if you're a big fan of certain like shows, there are certain actors that will be like, thank you, I needed to hear that, so you tweet out something nice about them. And then there's a lot of misinformation there. So you got to be careful about misinformation, Jesse. Always look at, the credible news or do the research. Because I've seen a lot of people bring up a lot of bad news littered with good news. And so there you go. Speaking of which, a little bit later, we're going to be joined on this very important subject from the American Lung Association. We're going to be talking about flu vaccines. Okay. Again, flu vaccines have not been a new thing for quite some time, right? However, I will say this because I did enter a very interesting conversation, and I don't judge the conversation. And I'm talking about those that are against vaccines. Does that make sense, Jesse? And
talk about anti-vaxxers. Yeah, I got you.
Well, I don't like calling anti-vaxxers because I feel like that's a very bad way to start off the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because I feel there's some truth that isn't being explored that should be explored. And however, here's what I say. Then I had a very interesting conversation. And this conversation, I didn't disagree with her because I've done the research and I go, oh. And if you do the research enough, you understand why people become so adamant against having any type of vaccine, right? However, okay, I always have to say this. And I always, but it went in one ear, and I could tell it didn't get past that. It went in and then back out. Like there's a whole block, right? And if anybody, and here's why, and I get it, but I always say there's two sides to the story, always, right? let's say, for example, Jesse, you were lied to on something that you actually were meant to trust. Would you suddenly say, you know what? Let's be friends. Don't worry about it. What would be your answer?
Yeah, let's not.
Right? It's like, I don't need to go there. Right? Now, some people are like, yeah, I know. You see it coming from a mile away. So you say, but what other choice do I have? Right? For example, I mentioned to this particular person, just in passing, I said, oh, yeah, I got my mom the flu vaccine, right? What? I said, well, she's at high risk. Like she's, well, I'm not going to give her age, but high risk. Okay. She's like a 50-year-old spirit. Well, she'd take issue with that. She's like, I'm 25 in my head. She is. It's true. I love my mom, right? I love her a lot. But during this season, let's just take coronavirus out of it, okay? Each and every year, she always tells me, I always get the flu shot, right? And for those that didn't know, prior to coronavirus, flus can and, in fact, do kill at-risk people already, right? Each and every year, they do in the U.S. and around the world. If you're already susceptible to certain things, my mom's also diabetic, makes her a high risk, super high risk. You got that? So then you got to ask yourself, well, she's so at high risk. Is it worth taking a flu shot? Because you got to say, well, so you got to take almost a risk with the risk. Does that make sense? Now, some organizations say there's no risk. It's zero risk, to which I always say, I don't believe that. Because if you look at the data, and we've had people on the show talking about vaccines, there's a certain margin of error in certain populations that suddenly become erratic, right? And if you look at the real data, which this lady had a lot of good data, granted, she had a lot of littered false data, let's just put it that way. And I knew it, but I didn't want to call it out because I'm like, I'd rather her be safe than sorry. Until, of course, it gets to the point where it's like, well, what if it was a proven cure at the moment? And it was like sometimes people don't understand, even like with antivenom, when you get a snake bite, did you know that there could be complications from antivenom based on certain nutrients that your body lacks? And you can have a worse situation. Yeah, antivenom doesn't always work 1,000%. Antivenom comes with complications because everybody's biology is different, right? Your biology is different than mine. There's certain nutrients that you need or certain chemicals that you need in order to fill in the gaps of your DNA sequence. And they're understanding that in DNA sequence, that with the DNA sequence, there's certain markers, but there's also certain, honestly, gaps that if it were filled in with the right protein and or fruit or vegetable and or enzyme, right, that can actually be found almost anywhere around the country, unless, of course, that fruit's extinct, right? But scientists have gone to the nth degree of being able to see DNA sequencing. And I actually would love to get in a room of a bunch of scientists, but also I'd like to put them in the same room with a bunch of nutritionists. And then say, okay, let's you see all those gaps in that DNA sequence? Let's look at the nutrients, admit it to those gaps, and see what we get. Like, do you have a better, stronger outcome, right? And I feel, for example, whenever somebody, okay, Jesse, have you ever had an inkling or a craving for a particular food item all of a sudden?
Oh, yes, all the time. Well, not all the time, but yeah, I do have that where I'll eat, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be eating.
Okay, for me lately, sometimes it's like cucumbers, right? But I don't like cucumbers. I like pickles, but right? So then I go, why do I have this sudden craving for all of a sudden, right? For ladies, they know they have certain cravings when they're really pregnant, right? That they would never have before. It's the body's way of saying, hey, I happen to know there's a certain enzyme in this particular thing that actually I need more of, right? So all of a sudden the craving, where does the craving come? There's a subconscious part of the brain that triggers a craving to suddenly have in order for you to have it. Now, the problem is for a lot of people, some cravings, if they give into all the cravings, the body's like, I need more sugar. I need more sugar. I need more sugar. You understand? Because sugar is an addictive. It is. It's an addiction, right?
Mhm.
So people that get adamantly get themselves off certain amounts of sugar actually do fare to the point where once they taste sugar, they go, oh, that's disgusting. The body starts acclimating without sugar enough. It suddenly says, oh, that's a foreign substitute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So back to DNA sequencing. So, and vaccines. Every single person's biology is different, which is why whenever they come out with vaccines, I'm always the first to say, I'm not going to do it the first one. It's like a phone, right? With a new update, they let it out, or a new Windows update, right? They let it out into the masses. And because every computer system is different, all of a sudden bugs exist. You understand? So there's bugs that exist, right? And no matter what pharmaceutical, let me even take away the pharmaceutical part. Even certain vitamins, if you have too much of certain vitamins in your diet, they could be harmful because you're absorbing too much, not knowing what your biology is, right? So she did this really cool test, which was a DNA sequencing for her young daughter, and she realized she was absent of a particular chemical compound, which makes her more susceptible to certain, or I should say this, less immune, right? But after doing some research, I saw, and I got to get back to her on this, that there's a particular fruit that actually produces a natural enzyme that can actually help out and is proven to help out that particular gap in her daughter that will help her throughout time, right? So she has to get her addicted to this particular type of fruit. But my point is this. In life, you're going to always have some risk, right? Unfortunately. And in the middle of it all, you got to say, well, what is the risk outweigh the result? But here's why I say this. If you're going to test a vaccine on any population, test it on people that are on death row. That's all I got to say. Don't test on our kids. Seriously. I can't believe like some government agencies go, oh, this is a smart thing to do. This is the dumbest thing to do, especially with the youngest kids of young, super young, right? Their biology is still acclimating to the rest of the world. So you introduce something super early, of course you're going to have problems, right? There's people and parents that say, no, I'm telling you, my child was fine at this point. I introduced the vaccine. I interviewed, we should have him back on, Aiden Quinn, right? And Aiden Quinn was the first of many that I had never realized this is a situation that's gotten out of control. But the moment you go and you say, like you just said, anti-vaxxers, and you discuss that, people all of a sudden turn off their head, right? Because we've been told, don't listen to that. Now, I'm in the far side of I prefer a vaccine than no solution. Does that make sense? I prefer a pill to help me feel good versus no pill to help me feel good. Does that make sense? If my mom has diabetes, I would prefer her getting insulin shots rather than not getting. You get where I'm going with that? But there's a certain level of science that needs to be done to say, well, which ones have been problematic, and we need to see what their DNA code is and say, okay, this person should not get it. They're susceptible, highly. I bet if they looked at the DNA sequencing of certain kids that they've actually caused problems in, they would see this to be true. And I only know this because I remember interviewing at CES, and I got to look it up. I really do. I would keep saying this. I really do. At CES, I met this really cool technology, and it was a technology that could test through your blood within minutes, tell you your DNA sequence. It was amazing. And I interviewed these two children, which, kid you not, they look so disabled on photos that they said this was us 2 years ago. They're twins. Honestly, you would have thought they had polio. Okay? Combined with some other stuff. You had no idea. They look disabled. They look mentally unwell. They could barely hold a conversation. It was bad. They look like a special need. They look like my sister, honestly. the scientists were able to determine in their DNA that there was a particular protein that they were missing, and or steroid. I can't remember that far. And the tape got lost. I don't know where the tape went, to be honest. I think it was just my own forgetting or something. We interviewed so many people at CES with new technologies. But I kept a little of the chip because I always wanted to go back to it. Eventually, I always knew I wanted to hold on to it because I think that's where we're at right now. I think people, and Ancestry does that. There's a lot of ones that do your DNA sequencing, tell you what you're more at risk for because they've been mapping it left and right. But I think there's something in that when you realize with certain people you could introduce, I'm not saying it's a fix for everyone, but there's a lot more that needs to be done on DNA sequencing, not cloning. I'm not talking about cloning. I'm talking about understanding what it is, the gaps in our body that is already there from the start. And if you could fill in the right gaps naturally, then I think it would actually help the rest of humanity. And there you go. Throw on some science out. I know I don't like talking geek, but sometimes sometimes it's boring. I'm trying to make it interesting. Okay. Get the DNA sequence right. If anybody knows a DNA sequencer, I want to meet them. Okay. But I'm going to look up this other science too, because I feel we're past the point of no return if people don't understand this. And you need to take people that have had situations after a vaccine was introduced and take them seriously. Okay. Don't keep putting your nose up to them because they have to deal with the consequences. Oftentimes, a lot of these kids end up worse after the effects. And I always say to people that don't understand that, I say this: do you know anybody that's ever had a bad symptom due to a particular food item that maybe they're highly allergic to? People go, yeah. Are you allergic to anything, Jesse?
I'm allergic to,
like food items.
I have slight allergies to certain food things. I will not tell you this because I do not like putting it out there, but nothing to where it's going to make me pass out or like.
Okay. But some people do, right? Some people have peanut allergies, right? For example. So what is that? There's something in their chemical composition that makes, you understand what I'm saying? That's why when doctors, they say, well, is there anything you're allergic to? That we don't give you that, right? So everybody's body is different. So to say, oh no, vaccines are 100% proof. No, they're not. But I will say this. You got to understand what the risk is to begin with. And that's what's coming up around the corner. So we're going to be talking again to the American Lung Association, which is urging flu vaccines for the 2021 flu season. And 2020 to 2021. And I highly recommend this. But again, buyer beware. That's all I got to say. Going into it. Okay, people. We'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned. All right, it's a hot topic. It's a topic where I don't ever want to be known as an anti-vaxxer, unfortunately, because I'm not that person. I'm just not. I'm a let's do the science. Let's understand that not all are created equal because they're not. And I mean biology-wise, right? There's some people like, for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger, perfect example, right? Well, if you look at his body mass, but you go further back in his DNA, he has some pretty strong people. Look at The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, right? Dwayne Johnson comes from a long line of DNA awesomeness. You understand what I mean, Jesse? He already starts off with like a good bag, right?
Yeah, he does.
So people's DNA have a huge influence on what they can do, right? Size, shape, stature, right? The opposite effect, dwarfism, right? The DNA has been so muddied in the past, but sometimes DNA can't help but be muddied. And then other cases, it actually improves upon the human condition. Back to The Rock, right? I mean, you're like, I can see some ladies going, can I interject some of that DNA into my kid? What? I'm not saying, but you know what I mean? Like, so I get that. Super soldiers, I get that. I understand what they're trying to do behind the scenes. I get it. And I think probably in years to come, it probably will be a regular thing. So, but in the meantime, let's fix those of us that need the help right here, right now. I'm not talking about our future's future. I'm talking about those that need help right now, right? That way we can make it safer for everyone. Once you understand that the chemical composition of people, you can understand what can help them throughout life and or what can hurt them. Back to allergies. You know, they could test ahead of time what you're allergic to so you never come into contact with that thing. That way it's not that death-dealing moment.
Oh, yeah. I remember they stuck me with like this. It looked like an egg tray with a bunch of little needles or pointy things. So they stuck it into my skin and had whatever gave me red marks and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm talking about the death dealing. Like there's other ones that you could form an allergy to, but there's some that you come into this world. But even that,
we got 10 seconds.
It goes to show you your biology changes, right? Based on foods that you have. I know because I'm no longer lactose intolerant, Jesse. Yeah. I know you hate me right now. It's okay. It's all right.
2 seconds.
I'll tell you later.
I don't want to talk right now.
Look. Welcome back. Yes, it is the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. The chat room is live and well. Lots of people talking right here. Let's see. Let's go up to the very top. We got Rosalie there. Says, good morning, beautiful people. Happy Friday Eve. Yeah. Well, you know, it's Thursday, which technically, what do you got planned for this weekend? We want to know. Let's see. We got Katya tuning in. Thank you, Katya. Says, hi, guys. Good afternoon, because in her neck of the woods, it is afternoon. It's not, good morning for her. Penelope, good morning, beautiful people. I know, I like that. Let's see. Judy Munoz tuning in says, good morning. Aaron, Jesus, and everyone. See, is anybody thankful to Jesus right now? Just saying. I'm thankful to you, Jesus. All right. Sorry, I'm starting off on a bad note. I know. Stephanie Reed says, hello, happy editing this glorious day for today's awesome busy day ahead. Thank you. Awesome. Maria, all the way from Canada. Good morning, Aaron, Jesse, and everyone. Hope you feel better, Jesse. By the way, Jesse, do you feel better?
I actually do feel a little bit better. I still have a sore throat and whatnot, but
all right.
I went to get a medicine ball. I don't know if you ever had one of those at Starbucks. It's like a honey citrus mint tea or something like that.
Can't say I have.
You should. If you ever feel sick, just go grab one from Starbucks.
Because you look a lot better, and you sound a lot better, by the way. So
yes.
Yeah, I might check that out. Yeah, he was like, I'm not going on the show. I don't want people to see. I felt so bad for him. What a trooper, though. What a trooper. All right. Let's see. In social media, we got more, but we need to take another break because we have to regroup here. Give us the shout outs, retweet. Let's see. I'll do a couple more during the break. We'll be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned. All right. Let me know when they call in because they haven't called in, right?
No, not yet.
All right. And then our other guest, I haven't talked about her, by the way, but she's a great filmmaker. Her and I met, I want to say, God, must have been, I don't even know, but it was at the La Femme Film Festival. I interviewed her a while back. And this woman, I don't even know how many words I can describe her as, but brainiac. Okay. You get her in a room and you just want to just like have her talk about everything. She's that smart. She's that intelligent. I mean, just mind explosion, right? Of just like, I can guarantee you this conversation probably, I'm just guessing, I'm not going to want to end it. I may even keep her for the after show. I'm not sure. That depends on her time. I haven't talked to her yet. But, and if you guys haven't participated in the after show, stick around. Okay. It's after we end the ABC News Radio show. Then we do after show talk on my platform. So anything can go. I mean, I still try to keep it PG, but every now and then I get a little upset and I'm like, I can cuss on my version, right? Yeah, I can't. Okay. So just so you know. So I could get a little graphic on the after show. But
All
that's
right, we
separate
can
from
swear. Sweet.
no. On the after show. You can't.
Oh, okay.
You
Never
can't.
mind.
I mean, you can, if you want to join,
No.
you can, but you got work to do. So I don't know how that works if you double dip.
Yeah. It's no good. I'm like, oh, we can start swearing now. Sweet.
Technically, which I've done once or twice when I got really mad. I'm like, and I'm like, wait, I'm not on broadcast here.
Your caller is ready to go.
Oh, let me bring up their headshot. All right. Okay. Now this is important because especially if you have problems already, you definitely want to address it. Death rates, and we're just talking about the regular flu. We're not talking coronavirus, okay? Which is why I had my mom take it. And she's fine, by the way. She's alive and well. But what something Jesse could fight, my mom might not be able to, right? So, so there you go.
Five seconds.
Yeah, Rosalie says, love Starbucks medicine balls. I gotta check out what the heck that is.
Yeah, you do. 2 seconds.
Sounds disgusting on so many levels. I don't even want to go there. That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMET, 1490 AM. Joining our live stream audience there, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Live, Periscope TV, LinkedIn, and much, much more. We appreciate each and every one of you. It's a sad reality. Each and every year, when you just discuss the flu itself has killed off thousands. And joining us right now, all the way from the American Lung Association, is somebody who actually is unfortunately very aware of this sad fact. Dr. Paella Gupta, all the way out of New York, is joining us. Good morning. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for spreading out this information. Look, I keep telling people, if you're at high risk, you got to get the flu shot. My mom happens to be one of them. She got it. But can you talk to me why these coming years are even more important than past years?
Yeah, so I mean, first thing is that everyone that's 6 months of age and older should be getting their flu shot. And so your mom is, definitely one of those individuals. And anyone who's 50 years of age and older tend to have chronic health conditions like lung and heart disease and diabetes. And when you have those conditions, you're more likely to have severe complications and hospitalizations and unfortunately even death from the flu. And so that's really why we recommend, anyone older over the age of 50 to get their flu shot. But to help protect their loved ones like your mom, we all need to get the flu shot because if I get the flu shot, I'm not only protecting myself, I'm protecting everyone around me, including my infant who's 3 months of age and who can't get his flu shot right now. So, those are the things that we really need to keep in mind is that we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting those around us. And this year, more than any other year, because of COVID-19, we need to keep that in mind because we don't want our hospital systems to be inundated with, with flu cases. Because last year, for example, we had 56 million cases of flu, which resulted in millions of office visits, which resulted in hundreds of thousands of hospitalizations. And you're right, thousands of deaths, up to 62,000 deaths last year. So, all those deaths are hospitalizations. And right now we need those beds and we need those ventilators and we need that hospital staff to focus on our current pandemic.
Which oddly enough, it's been ticking higher, because I looked at the last decade, and I mean, I think the least year was, I want to say 12,000 deaths, and then it's steadily crept up. I think we had a couple gaps in there, but it's been almost consistently about an average of 30,000 deaths. Last year was a little bit of a wake-up call, I think, to a lot of people, including myself, when I remember I had a trusted friend who says, the regular flu kills people already. and granted, you know, he was comparing the coronavirus, and I said, no, coronavirus is a whole other animal, but he's not wrong in that when people look at the math around the world, it does kill those already at risk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, you know, they're both respiratory illnesses. So you can, and they're both different viruses. So you can have both of them at the same time together. And that's not what we want to be happening. We want to at least.
Well, hold on. Okay, let me ask you something really quick. When you said have both together, you're talking about the flu and the coronavirus?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I said that on the show a while back. I just need you to, as the doctor, to. Okay, go ahead. Well, why is that important?
Well, it's important because you don't want two illnesses at the same time that are affecting the same organ system, that are affecting your lungs, because that's going to result in obviously more complications and potential, hospitalization and ventilation, being put on the ventilator, and potential death. You know, so these are all the things that, you know, it's not meant to scare people. That's not what I want. I know people are already anxious. They're already scared. There's been a huge shift. COVID-19 has dramatically shifted all of our lives. So this is not meant to scare you. It's meant to give you power to do something
right
that you have control over.
Well, have a leg up.
Flu shot is a way. Yeah.
Look, Doc, I want a full hour with you, and I'm not going to lie. Here's why. I keep saying, I've said ever since March, I says, you got to be safe than sorry. You got to be safe than sorry. You got to be safe than sorry. And yet what I'm seeing is exactly the opposite, which is why, back to something that, you know, I get a lot of people are anti against certain vaccines. And I understand there's a science behind that. But my point is, when you introduce coronavirus into the flu, I've already told 20 different people, and I'm going to tell you right now, each and every one thought I was out of my gourd, because I said, just because you have the flu doesn't like shut down the coronavirus, say, hey, don't come in my body. How can it exacerbate it for those wondering?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. If you get the flu virus, that doesn't mean that you're protected against the coronavirus. So if that's, you know, a myth that's running around out there, we definitely need to dispel that. You can have both at the same time. And when you have both at the same time, it's not going to be a pretty picture. It's going to, it's not going to be good, because they affect the same organ and they both affect the lungs. So you don't want that to happen. And, you know, other things, like I said, you know, we don't want to scare people. So really, it's getting the flu shot is just empowering you to keep yourself as healthy as possible. Also, you know, doing what we've been doing, wearing masks, social distancing, hand washing, all of these things are meant to empower us so that we can keep as safe as possible during something that's scary, during a pandemic. You know, none of us has been a part of a pandemic. And so this year has just been very, very scary for people. And we're just trying to give you tools to keep you safe, especially during this flu COVID-19 season.
I'm glad you said it. For those that need more information, where can they go?
Yeah, so you can go to lung.org or getmyshot.org. Both of those have great information about the flu vaccine, all your questions answered, and also, you can figure out where you can get your flu vaccine.
Yeah, you can also call 1-800-LUNG-USA. That's 1-800-LUNG-USA. Doc, I got to have you back at some point. We got to do a whole show on this, because I feel there's so much misinformation out there. There needs to be some caution to the wind, because I feel that, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I'm not going to make it political, but I will say this, certain leaders out there are not even talking about something you and I agree on. And I've been talking about this for the last 3 weeks on the show, which is with the cold and the flu season.
You're out there.
Yeah, it's going to inundate our healthcare system so much that even if you have a regular cold, are you going to get tested? Because you don't know, because the coronavirus mirrors many of the cold and or the flu viruses. So now a person doesn't even know if they have just a regular flu and or a cold or the coronavirus. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, that's the whole thing. When you have these symptoms right now, you are going to need to get tested for both the influenza virus and COVID-19, unfortunately. That's just where we're at right now. And so because the symptoms are very similar, again, because they affect the same organ system. They affect our respiratory system. So it's just really important to keep in mind. And I'm glad that there's people out there like you that have, a bigger voice than than most. And you're able to spread this message for your listeners, and hopefully they can take it back to their family members and friends. And that's just how it goes. We spread the message and we do what we can to fight against the unnecessary political issues that are happening.
Yeah, I look, I love my mother. I'd love to have her as long as I possibly can. And I would hate to be that person that says, no, I believe some other government conspiracy cover up, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom's dead from something I could have prevented. Does that make sense? That's not spreading fear. That's called care and put caution into your own mindset, right? So thank you, Doc.
Yes, absolutely. And you got your flu shot, right? And you can tell everyone that it doesn't hurt, that you didn't feel sick after, that, it's easy. It doesn't take that much time.
It doesn't. I was there with my mom. She got it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say with this interview, but she got it at CVS, to be honest. And it was like that quick. But I was in and out with her because I didn't want her to get sick with anybody else that might have had coronavirus going in there. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. So it is easy. I know people don't want to go out and do anything right now, but this is the one thing that you need to go out and do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Doc. I appreciate you. We'll have you back at some point. I'll make contact with you, with your team over there. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. We got to we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears up entirely. It's about a new film. It's happening right now. You can check it out at the film festival. We'll be right back right after these messages with more. All right. Let's see if we can get her on here. See, Jesse, I knew I was right. What did I tell you? Miriam, hello.
Yay, good morning.
All right, Miriam, we are on the live break and I can't mute your voice. So just hold on. Anything you say will be used against you on our show. However, just give me a minute here. Let me bring you up on the video source here. I really got to figure that out, Jesse. You really got to help me figure that out at some point. All right, awesome. And then let me get that. And then that is, actually, I'm going to switch you out, Jesse, with her. Okay, and Miriam, can you tilt it a little? Oh, I see. You're trying to get the poster in there. That's fine. I'll work with it. I just want. Can you lower it by chance? Oh no, I see it. It's like, oh, just move it to your right, to your left a little bit more. Keep going. Right, keep going. Right there.
Good.
Yeah, good. And then, yeah, we'll keep it like that. How are you today?
Good. How are you? You guys have been gone already the whole morning.
I know. We're trying to like keep it together too. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right. And I got the video content as well to run as B-roll, so you may see it, but just keep talking, and then I got the mini trailer, but not the audio portion. We're just playing the video when you talk.
Okay.
All right, Miriam. Okay, let's see. I'll bring you back, introduce you in just a minute. Jesse, quick question.
We got 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was Mike. Thank you. All right, for those of you joining us on Facebook, I know you can hear us. I know. I might edit all that sound out later, but I'm still trying to figure out how to do that with this new program. Anyway, Miriam's waiting in the wings. I can't wait to introduce you to Miriam. Her and I met a while back at the La Femme Film Festival. Each and every year I see her, and I just say, what's next for you? She goes, oh, I got like 20 million things going on right now. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's her. She doesn't slow down. She never slows. I'm like, can you just like slow down? She goes, why? I got a brain for a reason. So
coming back.
All right. That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio. KMET 1490 AM. We are joined by our amazing audience on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and many, many more. We appreciate you. Joining us right now is a good, trusted film director, producer, / anything and everything behind the scenes and in or in front of. Although I find her being more behind than in front of, which I'm wondering why that is. I've got with us Miriam Kushup. Did I get that last? I never get your last name right, Miriam. I apologize, Miriam.
No, man, you're doing good. I like the American version of the Dutch one.
Well, okay, but help me out. How do you say the last name properly?
Okay, in Dutch you say kruishoop, but here they make it more sound like cruise ship, and then in France it sounds more like grasshopper. So either way, man, I'm cool.
You know what? I appreciate you, Miriam. We're going to stick with that. That one I could do without botching it up. I'm not going to try the other one. I'll do that off the air. Miriam, look, let's jump into this. Look, for those that don't know already, you are an accomplished filmmaker. How long have you been in film?
I did my first feature film in '98 when I actually went to school in France, in Paris, and I've been working ever since.
And obviously you are, you've never really kind of held back whenever you go forward with these things, right? But I understand kind of the industry kind of tries to hold people back, if you understand what I mean. And you're like, nah, I'm not going to let it happen. Can you talk on that?
Well, I try. Look, I try to tell certain stories that are not considered commercial, So I have to fight really hard for the topics that I want to talk about. So that's not easy. But I'm very committed also as a visual artist to keep telling these stories and highlighting these voices and give them a platform.
All right. So something I want to discuss really quick. This particular film, Estilo Americano. What's this about?
It's about a Mexican-American family in today's, Trump era that's coming together over a Thanksgiving lunch, and they starting to fight and have sort of a very stressful gathering because all of the family members are they're politically divided. So it really is a slice of America that's happening right now. And not only in Latino families, but my particular story takes place within a Mexican-American middle-class educated family.
Yeah, you brought in some heavy hitters here, some of which we've actually had on our show in the past. There's one right there, in fact. What was that like? Because it's a pretty intense scene that you have on your trailer there.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not easy to have the conversation about politics today, right? And that's what we're doing. So I created these 8 characters that are one family. They clearly love each other, but each of them has a very different take of what's going on in America right now. And also it talks about the Latino experience. And for the father, that means something else than for the youngest son, who's an artist who barely speaks any Spanish. And I thought I really wanted to do something right now because I have a lot of Latino friends. As you know, my previous film, Green Card Warriors, was a Latino story. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, this guy picking on this large demographic, immediately when he came into power. And it just really frustrated me. And I wanted to do something about it and kind of show people, without giving away the ending, but show people that one has to move away from the stereotypes, don't judge people, and everyone has the right to be here because we all want the same in the end. And
Well, Miriam, again, I kind of want to stress this because I keep finding this to be the case with people that I surround myself with. And sometimes the Latino generation of today does not understand that those sometimes that fight for the Latino generation don't happen to be Latino. Can you talk a little bit about your I hate to talk about like ethnicity, but I feel in this case, it's kind of a good eye opener because it takes somebody sometimes from the outside looking in to say, that's not right, in order for change to be enacted. Does that make sense?
Totally, Aaron. I had a long conversation with a journalist yesterday, and he said exactly the same. And it's like sometimes you need an insider, outsider perspective. Look, as you know, I've lived in America for a very long time. You know, I have an American passport. I can vote. I'm also an immigrant. But I do think that for me, it was a little bit easier to address a really difficult subject, because I'm sort of like an outsider. You know, I'm mixed as well, but I'm not defined by being Latino or anything. I'm from Europe. And I just felt like I'm going to do it. The same with Green Card Warriors. People said like, wow, someone Latino didn't do it. I said, I don't know, but I did it. You know, I felt it important to talk about it. So obviously I understand America really well. So I also feel comfortable that I can put the story in the right perspective and hit some really sensitive notes, you know, emotional notes.
Well, and speaking of which, obviously, this film addresses a lot of different characters. Were there three of which that you, at the end of it, you were just like, I feel like I want to move them into another version of this film, or maybe not? I don't know.
I think that the family actually is a great platform for a series or a show, because I feel in arts and entertainment, middle-class Latinos are completely underrepresented, right? And this family is a middle-class educated family. So just overall, I feel that's something that we need to see a lot more, you know, because the focus is always on the undocumented, what's happening at the border, the day labor, the maid, and I wanted to move away from that. Look, these characters are characters from now. This is happening today, you know, whether you agree with them or not. I think any audience member will find someone at that table that they can identify with. But they all have a different perspective. But they're inspired by real situations and real people. So I think they translate into anything else really well.
I agree. When I just saw the trailer, I said, "Oh, that's a typical family that's on either side of the table, right?" I've seen and heard. I've never really fully experienced that, because I kind of have like a very whenever it comes down to holidays, I usually have like a very select few, right? I don't have that big family enough. You know, it's just me, my mom, really, and my sister's special needs. And so I just don't have that type of family that everybody else does. But looking on the outside, looking in, I go, I kind of wish I did, you know? So, and then I look at that, I go, I'm glad I don't. But but I understand that's kind of a typical conversation around, especially, I mean, I don't know if these dinners are going to exist entirely, but you know, outside, inside, whatever, I know they're going to happen.
Oh, I think the reaction that I've been getting, you know, since this movie is out, is that, oh, that's my family, right? And it's people from every color, from every sort of background. And so it's really surprising. It's like a table USA right now, you know. Politics is the thing that is the main topic of conversation, right? There is an enormous urgency right now. So I'm very happy that I addressed that. And I really like to urge people to use their art to address more social justice topics and start conversations that are really, really necessary in American society.
Well, and I understand this topic, as much as I think people are so focused on the election and what happens, I don't think this topic is going to go anyway anytime soon. I feel in the coming years, it's only going to escalate. And I feel like your film is a good platform of saying, at the end of the day, we're all still family, no matter what side we're on. And is that kind of like a subtext version, or am I just taking away something that you didn't mean to happen in there?
No, Aaron, I absolutely, I agree with you. It's you see that these people love each other, right? They're a tight family. And I think that's absolutely part of the messaging. Like, if you start to become divided within your family, the ramifications for society are huge. So I think you have to try to get on with your family, see eye to eye, be honest, accept each other's differences. And then you bring it into a bigger context. It's like, accept the differences of people you don't know and don't judge them, don't stereotype, because everybody has a story and everybody ultimately wants the same, right? So I think I tell an intimate story about a much bigger problem. And the messaging, therefore, is also, you know, it's more universal.
Well, I think more people need to see it. I understand it's being seen right now at one of the many film festivals which are happening right now. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it's been at Urban World in New York and then at La Femme, as you know, and now we have it on an exclusive platform on loscortos.com, which is a platform for Latino stories, Latino voices. And you can see it only there up until the election. And, we're fighting for a good cause. Everyone should go out to vote.
All right, so go check it out on loscortos.com. Miriam, I want to say thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I've got more questions that need to be answered, but before we let you go, obviously a lot of people are wondering going forward, and I like to play on the opposite side of worst case scenario. Let's say the worst case scenario, the person that nobody thought was going to be put in is put in.
Yeah.
Going forward, how do you think we should proceed as a nation?
That's $1 million question. We have to calm down a little bit, and we have to think what it means to be American, right? America is a country of immigrants. We also should not say anymore African American or Latino or American, Asian American, because then you should also say about white people, European American, right? What defines American being America? And that means that anyone from anywhere with any religion has settled here. And we have to accept our differences, and the diversity, that's what makes us stronger. So redefine what we are, and also redefine what this democracy is. At the moment, it's not a democracy, but it aspires to be one. So let's evaluate that and really try to move for the democracy where there really is equality for everyone.
Again, everybody, Miriam, I thank you so very much. Again, for those that want to go find more information, where do they go?
loscortos.com. That's where you can see the film, and you can follow us on estiloamericano.net.
Awesome. There it is. Thank you, Miriam, for spending time with us here on The Morning Show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Miriam, everybody, I told you she's smart, she's intelligent, and she's got it together. Seriously. All right. We have to see you tomorrow. Same place, same channel. We don't have to. We want to. We hope you will join us as well. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download the app. It's free. KMET, 1490 AM. Bye-bye, everyone. All right, for the rest of you there, I still, let's see, want to say a big thank you to Miriam. Miriam, you still there with me?
Yeah, they told me to wait, to hang on.
Yeah, because I was thinking, this is the after show. Hold on, let me bring you back on here in just a moment. So we're still on live, by the way, and because I'm streaming live. So this is called, what I like to call the after party of the after party, meaning I know it's like mid-afternoon, mid-morning in some places of the land. Some places it's midnight because people watch all around the world, right? And be free to be free, because now we're not on broadcast radio. So if you want to cuss, you can cuss, all right? There's no holds barred on the after party, all right? Because I feel some things need to be said, and I don't know how much time you have, but I'd like to keep you at least for a minimum of 12 more minutes. Can you put that in your schedule? You got another important meeting, because I know you probably have a day of important meetings. Okay. Here's a question of the day, Miriam. Why?
Everything that happened the last 4 years, I tell you why. Because America has had really profound problems with racism since its existence, right? But the last 4 years, we had a president that catered towards that, and it's brought it to the surface. And now it's out in the open. And because it's out in the open, it's also our opportunity to make the changes, right? And to realize how divided we are and how incredibly racist this country really is. So I consider this in my lifetime, the place where I come from, abortion, gay rights, all these things were dealt with before I was even born. So now to realize that we're in such a super stressful time, but where everything has come to the surface and where we know we have someone with a personal political agenda that wants to push us back to like the previous century or worse. this is the most important era to say people come first and money comes second. We are the richest country on the planet. We can take care after everyone, but we need to embed that into the mentality and into the law. And whenever there are these how do you say, things about what are the happiest countries in the world, right? And it's always like Denmark, Holland, where I'm from, Sweden. And it's very simple. It's because people feel safe because they're economically looked after. And those are very, very wealthy countries that have a lot of capitalistic elements in them, but they're also social democratic. So that just means the word social, and socialist just means to look after one another, right? There are also countries where they separated church and state. Religion doesn't play a part in the decision making. And I think in America as well, America's Jewish people, Muslim people, Christian people, Buddhist people, Hindu, you represent that diversity in culture, but also in religion. And you have to respect that. You can't just talk about cater towards evangelical demographic, which is actually, it's a declining group. So yes, all these things are now out in the open, and we have the opportunity to change things for good.
All right. So, and I'm glad you said that, because on so many subtexts of what you just described, I've been saying on the morning show each and every day in some way, shape, or fashion. I feel if we don't get past the next, look, people don't like it when I say this, but I say it's better to be prepared than not be prepared. It's better to be a little bit more realistic in a time of uncertainty rather than not be realistic. I always say this: we can step up, we can conquer, we're the human species that has always overcome adversity. We're the human species that have always learned to adapt. We're the human species that are still here on this earth, right? The reason I feel we're getting at a really bad time, that we just need to wake up. It's not the first time we've ever had to experience uncertainty in our own history. And I'm talking about when it comes to nuclear war.
Mm-hmm.
But everything you just stated is a world situation that I see the world is going down this path of hate. And I'm just going to keep it as simple as that. There are countries positioned against each other right now. There are countries going to war right now. And at a time where we all need to be, shouldn't we be thinking about one another instead of like, you understand where I'm going with this?
Yeah, of course.
So what we're experiencing here in the States, look, I don't know about you, but because you don't necessarily, because you're what we term in the United States of America, and don't take this wrong, but I'm sure you've heard it, you're kind of ambiguous because you, like, some people think you're Latin, some people think you're, it's like, what, and people always define you. And I'm like you. I grew up in a way, I honestly thought, I didn't know what I was. I mean, later I was like, wait, what? I'm what? Oh, okay, but where are the roots? But I always think in this mindset, if we almost, and I'm not taking away anything from culture, I'm not taking anything away from our family's history, where the families came from, how far back it goes. I don't want to take anything away from that. But if you and I, suddenly it was our last day on this earth, would we go all of a sudden to another universe where we were only of a certain race, and or would we shed our outward skin, so to speak, be more light, and all of a sudden go, oh wait, we're all the same in the end? I don't know if you think like that. I do often.
I think we're all the same. I really do. And I think that's the beauty. We're all mixed. We're all the same. We all want the same. When you take your skin off, we all look exactly the same. Flesh and blood and bones, right?
Right.
So no, I'm with you on that. I don't have it in me to run away from things. I think we need to figure them out. I think we need to think about future generations. so they don't have to deal with the same problems. It's our responsibility. And I think America as a country has incredible potential. It's a very inspiring place to be. And the only thing that I'm kind of missing, it's like, why aren't we coming together as groups? First of all, why aren't the Latinos not more coming together and getting organized? And I understand it, because someone from Puerto Rico does not identify with someone from Mexico per se, right? So, or from El Salvador. So I get it. But I think now the problem is bigger. Minorities are being targeted, right? That includes Asian, that includes Black, that includes Latino. And you just wish, because we all live on this big continent, that all these groups would come together and say, look, we don't accept it anymore to be treated like that. That's what surprises me.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I feel as though, like in certain movies that I like to see, there's always a disaster. You have everybody in the disaster, and all of a sudden, nobody says, "Hey, what color are you?" or "What ethnicity?" or "Wait, are you the other tribe?" Because you're right. In certain countries, they're of the same skin, but they're of a different tribe. Even in Native American, well, not. I'm just going to say non-American. Even in the Native culture, you had tribes against other tribes, right? This goes far back enough in our human culture and or history that I feel we really need to wake up and say, look, before we get on our last day, before we become a beacon of light in the other realm, unless you want to serve the evil one, whatever. My point is this, at the end of the day, we're all energy. We're all people. We just have different skins. I mean, I know it sounds kind of gruesome when you hear it that way, but based on our DNA sequencing of who we are now, that doesn't mean that we don't have the same feelings. And at the end of the day, we all have anger, we all have sadness, we all have madness, we all have love, we all have compassion. Some of us have less than others because we're bitter in life, we're mad, we're angry. But isn't it better at least to connect on this one thought? At the end of the day, do any of us want to be unhappy?
That's what I mean. Everyone ultimately has the same desires, I just think that, fear is something that has ruled big in this country, right? And just because someone is from another place, I think the strength of America has always been like embracing that and recognizing that. And now suddenly in the new marketing from this president, the first thing he did was turn on Muslims, right? And turn on Latinos. And my partner at the time, he was Muslim and he couldn't come into this country. And that is someone who's worked for NATO, who trained at Fort Hood many times, who's been to Afghanistan twice, who's an ally. And that's incredibly frustrating that suddenly, you're saying all the Muslims are dangerous again, and this is just, really, we're talking about a very small group of terrorists, right? You cannot talk about Latinos and just say they're murderers and rapists because they come here undocumented. How do you have proof of that? What kind of nonsense what proof do you have of these people that came into this country illegally, that they're murderers and rapists? How rapists? How can you generalize like that? And the fact that this narrative and this rhetoric has been accepted for so long is really something that we need to look at, And I realize that maybe for certain reasons, because a lot of Latinos are very religious. I mean, I talk about all this in the movie, why people haven't risen up more massively, but that's the truth. Black Lives Matters is a much more powerful movement, right? It much more come together. And again, I'm really surprised that hasn't happened in the Latino community. And you know what I'm talking about.
I do. And I know this because I've had these conversations with others. I say, you know what? Instead of divide the line among different, well, let me put it this way. I once went to an NAACP event, right? I was invited. And me and my friend were the only non-Black, if you will, in the room, right? Mm-hmm. But I kid you not. I've been to the NCLR. I've been to other conversations. And it was almost like if I closed my eyes, the same conversation among Latino friends and Latino organizations, honestly, it was the same exact conversation. And I was like, Why are we meeting in separate rooms when we should meet all in the same room? You know, look, for example, they were saying, and I say they generally, I mean the NAACP, but let's face it, they're my friends, of course. So we're all in the same room. I wasn't having the discussion. The person that was having the discussion said we're underrepresented. We have a huge purchasing volume of 1.3 trillion. And I kid you not, I go into a Latino same room, I hear exactly the same thing, except it's like I think it's 1.8 trillion right now, but it used to be 1.2 trillion. And so then they go, but they're like, we need to stand up. And me and my friend at the time, we said, combine it all, because there's nothing worse, right? Even among, and I get this, and this is a very hard topic to broach, but I think you can help me do it, Miriam. Why do you relegate yourself to only Latino and or only African because at the end of the day, you have much more power when you both get into the same room and you say, hey, look, these things need to be addressed, but let's not put one person over the other. Let's how do we make it work for every single one of us? And I feel in the Latino culture, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, there's this, you stay down there. And there's a big identifying trait in the majority of Latin culture, but it's not only in Latin culture. I've seen this in Asian. I've seen this in
Black as well.
And many that at the end of the day, you see like 20 family members all living in the same place. You know what I mean? Like they take care of their own. Grandma's in there, grandpa's in there, mijo's in there. The sons, yeah, the son's youngest daughter's like you get what I'm saying. So. But it doesn't mean you're not going to fight. It doesn't mean you're going to not. But my point is this: some cultures take care of their grandpas or grandmas more than other cultures. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally. But there's also two different things. I think what I see within the Latino culture, that generally speaking, it's a very close-knit family culture, right?
That's a better word. A close. What was the word you just used?
Close-knit family culture.
There you go.
That's what you see in Latino cultures. I think the problem is that you're expecting for people to come together they come from different countries, right? So I'm from Holland, which is right next to Germany, borders on Belgium, and then you have England on the other side and Denmark. But if you call me German, I get really pissed off.
Yeah.
You call me Belgium, that's even worse. That's not cool at all. Right. So we pride ourselves, I pride myself being from Amsterdam. But the point is this: to bring people together that are geographically much further removed and only seemingly are connected because they share a language, right? That, like I said, someone from El Salvador has a very different experience than someone from Mexico or someone from Puerto Rico.
Right.
And that needs to be acknowledged. But right now, you are in America, and what you experience is that your people as a group is being targeted.
Yes.
And whether you are at the bottom of the barrel, how you see yourself, or whether you're on top. And this is another big thing. I see that a lot of very successful, wealthy Latinos are not participating in this. Okay? So Aaron, I am also surprised, contrary to the Black Lives Matter movement, how many successful blacks have stood up, right? Really impressive, from LeBron to Michael Jordan. And I really feel within the Latino community, we need a lot more of those outspoken people that also can unite people and create that stronger movement. And again, I talk about that in the film, one of the characters says, well, I believe that's because of that reason. That was my experience. So, it's very complex, but I love how you break it down. At the end of the day, we're all people. We all want the same. And it's kind of shocking how skin color plays a big part in that as well, right? The darker your skin, you're lower on the food chain. And so there is a lot of racism amongst each other as well. And we need to move away from that and say, we're in America, so we're all American. take away whatever comes before that, right? African American, Latino American, European American. Let's just define what America is. And what is America is that everyone can be here and everyone is an immigrant. Let's not talk about the indigenous people, because that's another conversation where you should definitely do a show on, because that's the most shocking history. But that's another thing. America needs to embrace its history and acknowledge what has happened, right? And
absolutely. Absolutely. If you guys are just joining us right now, I see a lot of people coming and going, wait, what's going on here? You're joining the after program, but you can always rewind. So it's like, it's look, there's stuff in history we just can't unwind, but we have to live with it. And we got to learn from it at the end of the day. We have to learn from it and not go back. And Miriam, you brought up something kind of interesting, which is there are certain things in our culture, something that like for you is a hot topic, right? Somebody calls you all of a sudden. I don't want to say the word because I know it's gonna infuriate you, but it is said in such a way that it carries a lot of meaning for you. So I just kind of want to go there just for a minute, because I feel as much as I have embraced the fact that we've moved on past the culture of the Nazi era. And, that I feel as though that same hate, that same rhetoric, that same we're better than everybody else mentality has kind of still permeated in America today. Obviously, I could be wrong.
You're not wrong. It's called fascism.
And why do you say that?
I mean, I talk about this every day. I mean, the rhetoric of this leader, I don't even want to call him a leader, of this president. I don't want to call him a president either, but the way he...
The guy with the job title. How about that? Let's do that.
Trump, yeah, that's his original name, right? He changed it. His original German name is Trump. This is what he does, right? It's what Erdogan does in Turkey. We know exactly what this is. It's called fascism. That's the way he rallies his base. And, there's a trend globally as well. Look at Brazil, look at Austria, where these leaders stand up. And it's always to do with economics. This is what happened to the Jews in Nazi Germany, that they want to point at a group of people and make them guilty. So he started out with the Latinos saying they're stealing our jobs. Well, all these immigrants are doing jobs that the white people didn't want to do anymore. So what do you mean? You should be grateful. Not saying they're taking away our jobs, because that's nonsense. The contribution these people made, documented or undocumented, and I also don't want to make a judgment on that. I think everyone has the right to be here, is a huge contribution to our economy. That's why we are so strong. Of course, it's completely mismanaged. And you can also not define the happiness on a nation by the stock market. Yesterday, it completely crashed, The happiness of a nation is if you feel safe in your neighborhood, if you feel protected, if we all can have a job, that we all have universal health care. And the richest country in the world should at least be able to provide those basic things. And he's against that. And hopefully with our next leader, if it works out, he will bring back those very basic values again that a sophisticated first world country should have in place and not even question. That's called civilization. But we're dealing with a fascist.
And you know what? I got to be careful what I say, because I'll be forever held against the fire for stuff I say.
Sorry, Aaron, but you told me I could say.
No. I agree. Well, here's the thing, though. I don't not agree. Does that make sense? I just know someday my words will be taken out of context. But here's what I feel. Okay. At the end of the day, if we took at the very base root of Hitler and those that followed him, at the end of the day, what was it that was moving him to do such heinous acts, right? Was it something in his life that suddenly made him hate all Jews and or others that just were not of the Aryan race? That it's a weird terminology, but whatever. Or is there something more insidious going on? Is there something more behind the scenes evil in the world kind of permeating? And the reason I like to differentiate the two is because I like to say Shouldn't you see that coming from a mile away? Anybody that puts anybody down in such a way in your own mind to say, yeah, I don't like you, I hate you, right? I feel that's an evil trait that isn't of this earth.
I think with Hitler, it's twofold, right? I mean, he was a very frustrated guy because he wanted to be an artist and he never got accepted into the art academy in Vienna, where some of the, Egon Schiele, some of the greatest artists came from, and a lot of them were Jewish. So there's probably things in his childhood that happened, right? Look, I didn't know the guy. I read about him a lot. Obviously, growing up in Holland, the country that was occupied the longest by the Germans, lost a lot of people. We have a huge Jewish community that most of them have died in concentration camps, So we lived, me growing up, my grandparents lived through that, they lost a lot of friends. So we were very aware of what happened. It's a history we still, when we play soccer, we play Germany. It's a very tense match, you know what I mean? But I do think, what he played into is he identified, of course, an economical crisis and he wanted to blame someone. I think our number 45, personal hang-ups definitely define the way who he lashes out at. But I also think he's got a massive hang-up about Obama, because that's sort of he brings that up all the time. It's really, I don't know, that's very pathetic and really stands out. He never really talks about his politics. He picks on people.
Yeah. Well, and look, I understand, again, we were here to talk about your film, and I appreciate, because sometimes we talk about the film, but we forget the importance of why you choose things that are not necessarily very, I mean, your topics are always very controversial and or confrontational if taken out of context with the wrong or right person. Does that make sense? And I like to delve deep into the meaning of behind, because in many ways, I think people don't value why you take such serious topics, not understanding your outside view of a very serious, insidious problem, which is currently happening right here, right now. Back to the film at hand that you did and you chose to do. Obviously, you're wanting to inspire people to want to vote, stand up. But I feel that this film is not just about voting, because that's just around the corner. It's also about something, because this film is going to be there for quite some time. So I don't want to just make it about, something that's just happening in days ahead. This film is deeper than that. Mm-hmm. In the years ahead. Like at some point, 50 years from now, I think we're going to have to say to our children's children, don't ever go back to that time period. Am I wrong or right? I don't know.
No, I mean, look, the reason why I wanted to make Estilo Americano is because I wanted to document a moment in time, right? A moment in American history where I happen to be here, right? And to point out that this is happening right now. And hopefully, like you said, in a decade or so, wow, look, that was happening back then, but we don't have that problem anymore because during, the couple of years afterwards, we overcame this as a people. But look, as a filmmaker, what I do and a visual artist, I address subjects of social justice. I like to go to the uncomfortable conversations. I like to give voices for people that are unseen or heard, create these platforms. And at the same time, I want to make art. This is a beautiful looking movie. I just wanted to make something really beautiful and timeless. And at the end of the day, it's a story about people, all of us, everywhere in the world. And I think that's the strength of this film.
All right. Well, I know we're running out of time with you. I did want to bring up one of the comments on social media, which when we were talking about it, for those, again, that want to check this out, where can they go?
loscortos.com.
It's very simple, people. Very simple. But I did have one comment from Canada, one of our Canadian viewers. Here it is. Green Card Warriors was good. And that's when you were talking about it earlier on in the show. So that's for Maria tuning in there. But for those that want to check that out and have it, maybe make it a whole weekend. I mean, I got time. I'm thinking like, you know, I could do a whole film fest, right?
Why not, Aaron? Let's do it.
All right, so there you go. Okay, everybody. Miriam, thank you very much for being part of the morning show, after show program, and blessings to you, blessings to everything you're doing, and congratulations on all your hard work.
Thank you again, Aaron, for your support and giving me a platform, and I always enjoy talking to you.
Always. Okay, blessings. All right, there's Miriam, everybody. Again, fantastic. I told you, I can't get enough of her. Seriously, the stuff that comes out of her head. And oftentimes I never get that amount of time with her because we're always busy coming and going. I've just always like, I just want to stop her and listen to her talk for a bit. And I learned a lot in that few amount of time that I will say I've learned in a lot of conversations. But so there you go. Seriously, you know what? Seriously. Okay, look, people, in reality, everything she's talking about, that's a well-educated person. Sometimes when you talk to somebody and you say, where did you get your facts from? Right? She could talk circles around people that feel they're smart, but I have a feeling she's much smarter than she lets on. So much so, do you know those people? Some of you are those people, by the way, and you know it, but you kind of dummy yourself down. She unapologetically is like, look, let's go there. And there's so many people in life that unfortunately dumb themselves down to be with others that, I hate to say it, but just are okay with that. I look, growing up, I didn't know a lot about my own family's history. Honestly, I didn't care at the time. I really didn't. Because all I was caring about at the time was my own family. We had our own issues, okay? Growing up, I had a father who was schizophrenic, a stepfather. I had my biological father who, you know, we drifted apart, but whatever, there is that. And at the same time, my mom, you know, suffered multiple stuff, but I had my sister, she had my sister and me, and you know, it was never easy. So I was just focused on how to keep the family together, right? And our family never spoke about politics. Honestly, we were just like, what's going to happen is going to happen. So we never discussed it. We never thought about it. We just never, right? We had our own stuff to deal with, right? And my stepfather, sure, I talk about his schizophrenia openly because for a long time he didn't want anybody to talk about it, right? And I felt that was a disservice because I'm like, yeah, but we're the ones having to deal with the results of what you're going through. So growing up, a lot of people, when I'd say it every now and then, they'd be like, you're going with what? Yeah, it's complicated, you know? So I guess the reason I'm saying that is sometimes people think, well, you're Latino. You should know your own history. I go, you didn't live in my life. You didn't live in my footsteps. And if you had, I don't think you would have bothered, to be honest. It wasn't until I turned 28 and I suddenly got introduced to my father's cousin, also known as, like we call him Theo, but he's technically my father's cousin. His name, Jose Luis Sedano. And he was like, how do you not know? And I'm like, I just don't know. I didn't grow. He's like, how do you not speak Spanish? No, he never said that. He never made me feel bad. But, you know, he understood. And my point is, you have a lot to learn from the generation that is still living. Learn from them. Absorb it. Take it in. I personally, growing up, hated history. I was that guy. I was good at memorization. I remembered all the states and their cities when I had to. And then some of it stuck and the majority of it out the window. I never took bothered to think of all the countries and all the states and other countries. Although recently I remember having this conversation with a young 17-year-old. He's now 18, and he graduated. But I was like, they're making you understand the wording of Asian countries and what the Asian and they would ding him. They would ding him on the spelling of another country in another part of the world, one of which he's never going to visit. And I was like, You mean you got a D when you should have got at least a B plus because it's all grammatical errors? Oh, I had it with that history teacher. He was an idiot. Okay, an idiot. Met with him, a numbskull. Seriously, a numbskull. Because he and I figured it out finally. He got bullied as a kid. So once he got to become teacher, he bullied the kids in his class, and he would say stuff so heinous in that class. When we did a conference with him, he basically came out and said something that he said he didn't say, but we caught him in the act, and then he admitted to it in front of the high school counselor, and the high school counselor was like, "You're an idiot." I'm like, "Idiot, right? Dummy." I didn't call it to his face. He was just like, he became like, "Crap." I never saw the guy after that. But the reason I tell you that example of that story, which really did happen, he kind of cowered. And in the days ahead, well, I don't really know what happened in the days ahead. But here's what I do know. Don't believe always the person in the room that because they are in a position of authority, always know what they're saying and are doing. Now, if he had been a more loving teacher, he would have simply says, "You know what? I'm sorry. I misspoke. I got overheated." You should never do that because legally he could get in trouble legally. It was that stupid. Could I have called him out on it? No. Did he have tenureship at the class that he was teaching? Yes. Which is why he thought he could get away with stuff. But I never called it out. And I feel like I should have called it out to save the young boy who was in that class who felt inferior to him, felt like he didn't know it all. When in reality, this young boy, he'd take issue because he's a young teenager, whatever. But he, like so many of us, trust somebody who we think know more than us. But did you notice Miriam? Miriam knows a lot about a lot about a lot. But did you see at the end of the day where her heart lies? It lies in wanting to do what's right at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure if you piss her off, oh, you're going to see that woman come out. I can almost guarantee you. When I don't want to repeat the word that she used, the G word, right? You know, no, she's not here. She's not here, right? She's not here. She's not listening. Okay. She took ownership of that. You don't call me German. I'm not. Do you see that? That's called her flip switch, right? Everybody has a flip switch, okay? So I didn't want to flip that switch. My point is this, though. We all have a flip switch, okay? Make sure that your flip switch doesn't push you into wrongness, hurting another mankind through words and or speech and or whatever you want to call it. And the reason I say that is we're at a pivotal time right now, folks. Families are being divided. Families are unrightly so kind of temporarily losing their sane attitude. You know what I mean? And if you don't know what I mean, you haven't been around long enough because I feel like it's coming around full circle. I've had a multitude of conversations and Facebook posts. So I see what's going on around the world just by looking at certain trends happening online, right? And what I've been seeing is a lot of families are getting frustrated right now, rightly so. Some are having to stay together during coronavirus. In the next coming months, here's what I foresee in the United States of America. The moment election booths are filled up, all the votes are cast, within a week, kid you not, they're going to lock down the country. Why do I say that? They want people to vote, number one. Number two, every other country which doesn't have a political they're all going in lockdown. Back to the guest we had earlier. What did she say? And what have I been saying for the last couple of weeks? If you get the cold and or the flu, the mortality rate, I know nobody wants to hear this, but the mortality rate is going to skyrocket. Don't believe me? Put the thinking cap on. You know, some people are like, I'm pretty sure it's a cold. And then all of a sudden they're like, nope, it turned into a flu. Well, sometimes you get both. You don't even know it. I've always told people, put your thinking cap on. I know you didn't major in biology, but the reality, you don't have to major in biology just to go, wait, if one virus is in the body, that another virus, you get what I'm saying? So once you hear that, you go, oh yeah. Oh shoot. But I feel back to face masks, right? If you were in the room with one person has the flu, another person has a cold, and somebody on the way back actually never enters because they're not allowed to come in because they have the coronavirus, right? And you have the ability to test them before they come in. Wouldn't you still want to wear a face mask? Seriously? Wouldn't you still? Just to reduce the chances. Wouldn't you want to reduce the chances? It's not like you have 0% chance and then you have maybe 85% chance in some cases, right? If everybody wears a face mask, right? And I've seen the numbers. If somebody doesn't wear a face mask and they're like, giving you a kiss on the forehead, right? Or worse yet, on the cheek, right? Or right there on the lips, saliva, right? Isn't that how you get a cold typically? Okay, guys, ladies, let's be real for a minute, right? Your significant other has a cold. Hon, don't want that. Okay. But now all of a sudden, it's late at night. I'm going to get it anyway, probably. Suddenly you start making out, right? I don't need to go into graphic detail. We all know that. We're all adults here in the room, I think, right? Kids, move on. My point is, the adults in the room, you know what happens next. You go, oh, no, you have the cold or the flu. Get away from me. Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get that. Self-will, self-heal, heal. There, done. I'm done. Woo, right? Back to biology. My point is, get your minds out of the gutter, okay? Focus. The reality is, right? When one gets it, the other gets it, and somebody else is going to get it eventually, right? So what do you do now? A lot of tight-knit families in the room. Who's going to know if it's a flu, a cold, or a combination of the two, of just those two? Well, here's the great thing and the great news about that. Majority of people never die from a cold. Now, if you have an immunity problem, all of a sudden you're at high risk. You understand? Super high risk, right? But not from a cold, right? It's the least of the three, right? But if you get a flu, you have an immunity problem, and or you have a pre-existing condition, and or you have lung problems, and or you have pneumonia, and or there's a list goes on. That's just the first two in the room, okay? Now enter good old coronavirus, which is brand new to the table, right? Hey, come on in, all right? What do you get? Now, are some going to get well on if two or more pathogens are in their body at the same time? Let's certainly hope so, right? But do you see why I'm saying the mortality rate is going to suddenly spike? You don't have to believe me, but don't throw caution to the wind, okay? You don't have to believe me, but let's just be a little bit more cautious. That's it. I'm all for optimism. I'm the first guy to say, I want to feel good today, okay? I'm going to focus on things I can do. Let's focus on things I can move forward. Let's focus on the positive stuff in the room because I already know the negative stuff's in the room, but let's do it willy-nilly, making out with everybody, just blah, 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 right? Like, oh, yeah, come here, right? Let's just mix all of our, you get what I'm going with that? We don't want to do that, right? Or at least get them tested ahead of time, right? Hey, you don't have coronavirus, right? Because I see you're exhibiting some. Well, you know what? Let's just not make out for now because I don't know what it is just yet. How about you get tested, right? But tests are going to go out the door pretty soon because what I foresee happening in the next 3 weeks is there's going to be a huge influx of people needing to get tested. By the end of that 3 weeks, they're going to run out of tests because you don't have enough tests ready to go. If President Trump and the current administration, and I hope he's done this behind the scenes, have already thought ahead of it and says, you know what, we really need to ramp up with enough test kits to make sure that we know who has it, who doesn't. And so we tell the people to self-isolate. Hopefully they'll get better, but we don't want these viruses mixing. I foresee a very dark time in the next 3 months. And I don't want to be the right guy in the room. I really don't. I want to be proven wrong. And I hope, really hope, but somehow I think we're not there because nobody's listening. We get on average maybe about, we get a variety of numbers, okay? Some I actually pay to promote. I do, because I think that they're important, guests on. Sometimes I donate time, I donate money. There's some causes I help get more awareness. And sometimes I just don't have the funds to do it. And I'm running out, honestly, of funds to promote the show and promote these messages. And these messages aren't what's the word I want to use? Captivating. Oh, great. The guy in the room's talking about caution again. Whatever. Let's change the channel, right? But if you're still here and you're still watching, this came across to you for a reason, because you just need to just remember this. Someone down the line in the future, 80 years from now, you have to remember sometimes people just don't want to listen. So don't make that same mistake. If you're the person watching this 80 years from now, and this comes around once again, because it seems to have a cycle, right? They say history repeats itself. Why does history repeat itself? Did we run out of ideas up there somewhere? Seriously, are you guys making us all sick for a reason? What's going on here, right? Let's not repeat this same mistake all over again. Somebody has to stand up and listen. Here's what I'm talking to the person a million years from now, okay? The person a million years from now, glad we got it together finally, seriously. To get there, right? All right, people. Anyway, look, at the end of the day, here's what I want all of us to focus on, okay? Moving forward, how can we have a different future moving forward? Here it is. You ready? Remember, we all live on this earth. Remember, we only get one chance. Take care of those around you. Remember, you're not above. Even sometimes ourselves. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And we need somebody else to come to help us to say, oh, I'm my own worst enemy. Shoot. Don't be your own worst enemy. Don't be so headstrong that you can't be the wrong person in the room, because you could be that very person that's wrong in the room. You had no idea you were the wrong one. You just thought you were always right, right? Not realizing, oh, man, because you suddenly get some important information you were unaware of to begin with. And you go, now you have a choice. They could be right. Let me see. Ah, they're right. I'm always right. I'm never not wrong. Well, that explains a lot of stuff. You get it? Don't be that person in the room. Always accept the opposite. It's called being humble. Humble is a word people don't like anymore. Humble is a word I almost said earlier, but I had to refrain from because people view it as weak. When in reality, being humble is one of the best assets you can have. Doesn't mean you're not a vindictive person. You understand? It just means you're willing to say, I don't know everything. Versus the opposite person in the room who says, I know everything and I'm never wrong. Even when I'm shown the facts, I'm still right. I used to have a close friend who always would talk like that. Can't stand the guy anymore. He did the worst thing imaginable to me and my mother that one day, I'm going to come out about. But that was always his mentality. His mentality was always this. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. I bought him a mug that said that. And it was kind of a common joke. But at the end of the day, he did something so heinous, so evil, so destructive. I'll never forgive the man. And I have that right. Now, is that being humble? It doesn't matter what happens to me in the future. It really doesn't. But it matters what happens to those listening right now. If you're listening, then you need to know this, okay? No matter what happens in your life, it could be good, it could be bad. I just hope there's no more evil in the world at some point. Martin Luther had a dream. Let me bring that up. And in many ways, I echo his dream because I've often thought about it. I have some little additions I'd like to add to it, but I'll keep his dream speech pretty relevant to himself, right? And it's a long speech, by the way. It is not a short speech. You remember the very end of the one that they always use, right? But it starts off like this, and it's a 16-minute. So when you hear "I have a dream," that's the part we all know. So let me read from that point, okay? Because that's the part I really embrace. I think we all do. Here it is. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together. I knowing that we will be free one day. And this will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. That's what it means to make America great again, people. If you don't believe me, I don't really care. Everything he said here, granted, you may not have been in Georgia. You may not understand what it's like to be looked down upon. You may not know what it feels like to be held in derision around the people just because you want to sit down with them having a simple meal in the same room together. But you don't have coronavirus. It's due to your skin color being different. That was his life. Now, have we come pretty far? Thank God, right? Now we eat. We break bread. We don't think about, hey, you're a different color. Get out of here. Thank God we've gotten past that, right? But There's still work to be done. There's still work to be done. Don't let us be relegated backwards. Don't let us get to the point of where we go and we unravel his dream. Don't unravel the dream. That's the dream we need to focus on once again, people. This is what it means, truly, to make America great again. Sure, I get the whole financial part, but you could do the financial with just being a good human being, working hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. You know, genius doesn't always come from one skin color. It comes from a multitude of skin colors, right? It's called brains. Everybody has their own consciousness, their own brain, their own perception, their own reality, their own whatever that is, right? We all can learn from one another, from the very bottom to the very top. I ask people of, well, I need to ask more, but I've asked a variety of people. Some I respect, some I hate. Now, because they did something against me or my mom. You do something against me or my mom or one of the family members that I love, I can guarantee you I will hate you for life. I am an unforgiving man. When you hurt or bring harm to someone I truly care and or love, I will cut you off. Cut you off. Get it? Cut you off from my life, and I will never trust you again. Ever. And I have no problem proclaiming it from the tops of the roof, from the tops of the mountain, from the tops of, one day in heaven. I'm pretty sure everybody talks on the other world, on the other side of things, and they say, oh, hey, did you know this happened? Wait, what? Yeah. You know how he's proclaiming to be all good? He's not good. He's terrible. Watch. Check that out. Oh my, it's like a demo tape, right? People don't realize everybody has a demo tape of your own life. That's what I theorize, okay? Pretty sure everybody has a little demo tape, and the demo tape is your like moments in life, right? Isn't it God that says, I know the formation of you before you got put on this earth, like what the embryo, it's all written in my book that I have there. Well, I feel that book is a very ambiguous term for people that didn't understand much more in the realm that they were, because all they understood was a book. But I kind of take it kind of like, I mean, we all have the ability to learn about the cloud, right? What is the cloud? The cloud is this really cool, when I have people explain, well, do you know what the cloud is? The cloud is basically information, zeros and ones, compacted together to form pictures, to form video, to form, well, let's just stick to the video portion, right? There's a theory that people can remember memories so good they see them in pictures, right? Is that a new theory? No, it's not a new theory. It's called your mind, right? When you go to sleep, you have pictures in your head. True or untrue? True. Sometimes you have emotions, right? Especially if they're in combination with like a memory, right? Sometimes you have a visitor, right? They're dead, but you're like, oh, I'm dreaming of somebody I love that, passed on. That must have been another dream. But my point is this. We all have pictures and they're in our head, right? Well, how do our pictures look? I think, just throwing this out there, when we die, that consciousness gets uploaded to the cloud. And in the cloud of, granted, it's not like Google has the cloud, right? It's, the other cloud. I think that our memories get uploaded there and they get locked away for quite some time. But then suddenly somebody says, I'm bored. You bored? Yeah, I'm bored too. Let's look at Johnny. Let's pull up his demo reel because I'm just bored. Eternity is forever, seriously. And this probably isn't like each one of us. It's probably like the angel realm, right? The ones like, you remember God says, there's no one before me. There's no one after me. I'm the Alpha and the Omega. Like basically what that means is eternity, right? That's what eternity is. Eternity is eternity. So there's an eternal time of eternity, right? They say that eternity is put into the hearts of man in order to want to live forever, right? That's a theory, right? No, it's in the Bible. Oh, yeah, that's right. So my point is, eternity is an eternal time of eterniticism. Nobody understands because nobody knows, well, when do we start? When do we end? When do we stop ending? When do we keep going? You understand? It's a very ambiguous theological term that physicists have been trying to prove since the beginning of time, of understanding what time is, known as black hole theory, Einstein. It's convoluted. It really is. But what if we simplify it and just say this? Everybody in time has a little nanosecond time clock, meaning in their brain and in other people's brains, viewing, perception, other people watching the other person from the other realm of other people basically can see and watch things and categorize things. And basically, let's hit the rewind tape on the other side of things. Because I'm pretty sure if the other side knows how to judge, which trust me, they know how to judge. You don't believe me. They're judging right here as we speak. So my point is, I think there's a demo reel on all of us. All the secrets, all the moments of that little sense of dread, right? I'm not gonna lie. My only concern is, do you guys really watch when I go to the restroom, right? Does anybody ever think, am I the only one that thinks like that? Can you guys turn away? You guys don't want to watch this stuff. And I'm pretty sure they go, oh, we edit that stuff out. We don't need to see that, right? Can you edit everything else out? Like if I'm naked, do you guys see that too? You understand? Where do the angels divide the line? Does anybody ever think of this stuff? Am I the only one? I love the angel theory. And then sometimes I have problems with the angel theory because it's like, well, if angels are the guardian angel, when are they not guarding you? When do they know? And then I think they say it like this. Well, it's like a dog. You look at a dog, you see a dog poop. You're kind of like, all right, the dog's pooping. You don't think anything of it. I don't know. I think so. I go, oh, can you not do that around me? Right. I'm that person. Right. But anyway, so there you go. You understand what I'm saying? So my point is, hear me out. I'm getting to something. You'll love it at the end. I think we all have a demo tape of our life. So since everybody's going to know everything in the end, let's live a pretty good, awesome, amazing life. So they're like, let's watch that again. Back to Martin Luther King. That moment in history will be forever etched, not in just the hearts of man, but I believe the angel realm pretty much love that as well. I need to be reminded of that. Because somebody hit the I don't care switch. And we need more I care about making that become true, because that was Martin Luther King's dream. And you know what? If the angels are asleep then, fine. Hey, why don't you and I do something on this earth, okay? Because it starts with us. And I can see angels being like, what? Well, yes, you kind of let history unfold in this way. I don't really, but look, let's go to the higher guy, right? Not a guy, it's a spirit. It's an ambiguous term of the high, very highest. The highest of all, right? The Big Bang Theory theorizes everything was nothing, then all of a sudden it was something. Big explosion caused everything else to actually come into existence, but you had to start with something. That little tiny little thing, all right? Whatever that tiny little thing was, obviously it wasn't that small. It was just called bring into the existence in this realm. I think that was something in another realm that got put into this realm, and then suddenly creation begins. However, there's probably not even a word for it. I'll make one up right now. Plus one. That. I'll go with that. Okay. What? It's, how do you angel speak? I'm sure it's an angel word. My point is that many people are unaware of when that moment happened in time. I don't care if you believe in creation. I don't care if you believe in the evolution. I don't care if you believe in none of it and or all of it. At the very minute you are born on this earth, you have to deal with things on this earth, which is why sometimes I kind of take a little bit of like a backseat and I go, does it matter what's going on in another universe, on another time, in another planet? Not really. We got to deal with the people here on this earth in my lifetime, as many people as I can affect right here, right now. Does that make sense? And I think that's the majority of us, right? The majority of us are in that realm of influence that we can only enact those people currently in and or around us. Don't believe me? Let me throw some theory to you, okay? What if I said this? What if I said you and I are actually of the same fold? Agree or disagree? What I mean by that is this. What if wherever we're going, we both get there, but then suddenly we're divided? Meaning you go there, that way, I go that way. Johnny goes higher up. The other one goes further down based on the life choices we make right here, right now. I know that's a really ambiguous thought, but bear with me. What if I said this? If we all do what's right, we all go to the same place. But what if I said this? If we do all what is wrong, we still go to the same place. But what if I said this? What if those super evil, the very evil, still go to the same place and then we do it all over again? Because we didn't learn from the very moment we all messed up. Well, that would be uncool, right? Unjust and unkind? Yeah, I think so. So the reality, I feel, should be more like this. Let's focus on this reality and let's not worry about whatever that reality is. Because I spend a lot of time thinking, because I have a lot of time to think, a little too much time. And when I have this time to think, I theorize and I theorize and I theorize. You know, Plato, I think, was a theorist. And people now, they probably thought he was crazy then, but now people go, nope, I quote Plato, right? But there are many philosophers of time that honestly, I never loved philosophy. I hated philosophy. I was always told philosophy kind of confuses things, but I think there's a lot of truths in philosophy now that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But in the end of it, how am I going to find and feed my family? So I got to find the money to feed my family. I got to focus on that. I can't be focused on other stuff and theories and that abound, right? Stick me on an island, keep me on an island. I'll figure it out eventually. Probably not, because I have to go through life. So no matter where you are in your own mindset, remember this: always move forward, never backwards. How do we go from Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech sideways? I think we took a sidestep. We were on a good path, and then suddenly we hate one another. And I hope you're not that person that hates somebody so much, but I think we all have some hate in us, right? Trust me, somebody does me wrong. Oh, whew, you don't want to be in my body. I have to like stop myself from doing stuff. You understand? And there's 3 people I can think of right now. If I were John Wick, I'd take them out. I'm not saying I am. If I'm framed for murder. But my point is this: in life, we have to make a decision. You and I'm not going to talk about you. I'm going to talk about me. I have to make a decision right here, right now, to always look forward far enough into the future to say, I want somebody to look back at me and say, I'm glad he was on this earth. Sometimes we don't think far enough into the future. Sometimes we don't think about what we're leaving behind, what name we're making for ourselves. Martin Luther King, do you think he really cared? I think a part of him cared. Talked about his children. Did you see that? Talked about his current children. If you got to start with your current children, if you have children, I have no biological children. I don't. I had adopted kids that I still love. They'll never understand that because I can't say hi to them right now. But that's a whole other story. I adopted them as my kids because I won't ever have kids, right? But my point is this: I think about them and I think about their families, and I think down the line. I think, man, are we hitting the I don't care button? Sometimes people do hit the I don't care button in their own life. They say, I don't care. What's it for? What's it all for? Don't hit the I don't care button. Say this at least. Fix that mentality and say, I may not care right now. I'm not a non-realist, okay? I may not care right now, but I want to care eventually. So I'm going to focus on hope. And if I focus on hope, well, what's the hope? Here's the hope, people. Here's the hope. No matter what happens in the next 3 months, okay? Please remember this. Life will go on. Life will continue. It may not be fun. We may not have Disneyland reopen. Shocker. We may not have an amusement right now place to go to, but I can guarantee you this: one day it's coming back. It's not going away. Look, people. Look. Put perspective here, okay? If a meteorite was coming within a week, That's a pretty dismal situation to be in, right? There's not a meteorite coming within a week. Might come in 85 years, but you know what? NASA's already working on that. That's why they're landing on asteroids. You don't believe me? Look it up. And I can guarantee you there's an asteroid coming soon that they're like, how do we divert the big asteroid, right? From destroying mankind. I guarantee you this. If suddenly everybody focused. In fact, if they even release that 85 years from now, if we don't band together right now, put in the biggest scientists, the biggest theorists, the biggest everybody, let's not let this planet get blown up. But you know what I would see? I would see the opposite effect with some people. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to be alive. Okay. What if I told you there's a magic pill coming up within 8 years that if you at least live to last by 8 years, your DNA structure will be able to basically be perfected to the point where you can continue to live again and again and again. Well, what happens if they cut off my arm? Simple. Super simple. There's already scientists working on growing back human limbs. It's true. The growing ears out of like dish plates of looking at it's disgusting for some of you, but for others of you it's really cool. It's they can take the placenta, they can actually extract certain nutrients in it and form a human ear. How weird is that? Talk about science fiction. That's not even science fiction. That's no longer fiction. It's here. What if I told you they have taken and transplanted things that do not belong on the human body called a penis and put that on somebody that didn't even have one to begin with, and now it functions? You don't believe me? Look it up. So if you could do that with a human penis, I'm pretty sure we could figure that out with a human arm, a human head, well, no, maybe not the human head. Maybe that gets a little weird. But what if I told you within about well, it doesn't matter because that's way too far in the future. But they are trying to figure out how to move human consciousness into a device to be able to keep it going. Don't believe me? They saved Einstein's brain. Did you know that? Yeah. I wonder where that's locked up. Seriously, I should look that up. Did you know that? They saved Einstein's brain because I'm sure somebody said we could probably learn from it at some point. But where is it? Who looked up? Let's see. Einstein's brain stolen. Oh, that's why. Wait, no, what? I kid you not. I can't make this stuff up. I saw it one day and I was like, what? Here it is. Yeah. Einstein's brain was different. They have a picture of it, people. You don't believe me? All right. This is the fun stuff. When you save yourself through all, I told you were going to be like, oh, at the end. This is the moment. I think what? So look. Here it is. Let me bring it up. Pretty sure you've never seen the brain of Einstein, or have you? How many are still here that actually have seen Einstein's brain? I'm going to tell you right now, I've never seen this ever before. I never bothered to look it up. These are the type of cool stuff we get to in the after party. All right, here we go. This is the brain of Albert Einstein in 1955, people. Number one, that looks massive. Number two, that looks weird. And number three, I got questions that need answered. I want to just leave that up there right now. People are going to be like, what the heck am I looking at, right? But some people are like, I don't want to look at it. Turn up the volume, people. Turn up the volume. People, keep talking out there, okay? Let them know why I'm talking about this. Because I'm looking up some information that I didn't know until now, okay? Let me, right here. I'm going to pull up this one, all right? Here it is. Probing Einstein's brain for clues to his genius, all right? Einstein's brain, preserved during autopsy, has been studied for decades. Some say it's time to give it a rest. I say I think not, by the way. I think not. I think we're almost at the crux of understanding the human brain in ways that we never have before. But here's what I would hate. Because I've often theorized this. And I always wonder where that came from. I would hate to be locked up in a jar. There's a couple movies that do that. Hold on, let me bring it back to me. There's a couple movies that do that, and I'm like, oh, I'd hate to be that guy, right? I think there's a movie back in the 1930s, or it's made to look like the 1930s. I forget. But where the brain's talking and it's in a jar. I don't want to be like that. Like, why can't I see anything? Why am I communicating? Why am I here? What the? Oh, hey, it's you. I hear you, but I can't see. What am I doing here? You don't have another body, right? I would hate to be Einstein stuck in that little tube jar. I don't know if his consciousness suddenly gets, or if it's a copy of the consciousness goes from one place to another. Where's the human soul? But the idea, the theory is that wherever the human soul or the consciousness of mindset goes, it goes above and beyond to the next life, right? Because the body decays, but they kept his brain from decaying. It's right there. But if they, learn how to activate it, would they at least kind of like be able to tap into the neural firing of the brain? And or is that the part that we can't figure out because that's the part of human consciousness that exists in the firing of where the brain cells go and or how they interact with others? Or is that just kind of like an empty vessel of potentiality? But if like you get where I'm going, my theories go a little beyond the morning show. And oftentimes I don't let my theories out. But here we go. So let me go back to this article, and then I'm going to come back around. I'm pretty sure. An elderly man. Let's see. I'll skip down. That's unimportant. Right here. Yeah. In 1999, neuroscientist Sandra Whittleson reported an unusual configuration in the folds and grooves of Einstein's parietal lobes. I think that's the rear. It might not be the front. Suggesting that they may have developed earlier in life than usual. She wondered if that configuration might have something to do with the physicist's skills in visual, spatial, and mathematical thought. Harvey himself co-authored a 1996 paper that suggested the brain's higher density of neurons might make for faster communication between them. All right, a lot of this stuff's going to bore you guys. So let me skip down to the really cool stuff. Let me see. Howard University physiology professor Mark Burke says the idiosyncratic way Harvey cut up the brain makes it hard to study. Wait, they cut it up? Oh, come on. I'm never donating my brain to science. I don't want to get stuck in it in a jar because that's not going to happen. Even with unbiased, state-of-the-art cell counting techniques. He recalls his disappointing pilgrimage to the National Museum of Health and Medicine in Silver Spring, where each of what's left of Einstein's brain now rests. What? They cut it up. That's so dumb. They could have they didn't have the foresight. That's why. They didn't have the foresight to say, one day we're going to have Google Cloud. And AI technology is going to work so well that basically you can tap in and see how certain parts of the brain actually light up. Because at this time, they just weren't thinking like that, I'm pretty sure. Burke recalls, I just kind of shook my head and said, it's a shame it wasn't done systematically. The brain, he says, is of limited scientific value at this point. Yeah, no duh. Seriously, people. Seriously. God. But even if Einstein's brain were intact, enough to be plumbed with the tools of modern science, we might have to remain agnostic about the source of his brilliance. What does that mean? Harvard neurology professor Albert Galaberta believes that even if we could resurrect Einstein, we still will not be able to explain his mind. If he has some differences, you can't tell that's why he's become a great physicist. Maybe it's because of what doing physics does to your brain. Well, I think it's a combination of experience, thought patterns, thought processes, and also just called good old life, right? Makes you think about things in ways you never thought of. You think of a problem, situation comes into your head, you suddenly start calculating based on all the other calculations that you've ever made throughout life, and you have to unlearn some theories, and you have to be thrown in some theories, and all of a sudden you go, and certain brains can get around it, but I think all brains have the ability to do that. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough neuroplasticity to be able to do that. And one day, I think the neuroplasticity, it's a terrible word. I always get that word wrong. The neuroplasticity. Look, your brain at some point in time becomes less fluid. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Plasticity. There you go. And when it becomes less fluid, it begins to downgrade. True. Oftentimes, that's where dementia starts to set in. The plasticity of the brain doesn't continuing. Which is why I know the person in the room that says, wait, I can continue to live great, but what if we can't do anything with the brain? Now you're stuck in a body that can heal itself. Got that magic pill, but now the brain. So now you got to tackle the brain. So you see, which do we tackle first? The brain, the body, the limbs that can grow, and then surgically. Seriously, the ear part? Weird, right? But that's just the outside. That's not the innards, right? But back to transplant. That's a cool thing. You know, some people are blind, but they're given like an ocular vision to be able to mimic the visional cues of certain things that we see in this world. Weird. Time to be alive. It's almost like somebody wants us to transcend time and space and move into a digital world as well with AI. It's so weird. But my point is this, people. Okay, look. I just want to be stuck in a mindless body, right? Or put on a shelf where I'm just let's put this in now. Doot, right? Well, now we're working. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. But I will say this. If you promise me that we all can be on the same page and we can all be happy and loving and kind and loving, and I don't have to relive this time period that we're in right now, because I think a lot of us are sick and tired of this time period we're living in now. Not going to lie, I am as well. But here's what I know. We can get through this together. We really can. I have faith in you. I have faith in my neighbor. I have faith in people watching. Because if you watched up to this point, I'm pretty sure you have at least a measure of faith in yourself to say, you know what? I'm going to think a little outside the box in order to move people forward. And even if I can't move outside the box because I'm so pressed down in time, because I have to make a living, I'm still going to do the right thing no matter what, to stay living, to see how this all unfolds. And for the rest, who may not ever see past their last day, I say this. I'll see you on the other side one day. Pretty sure I'm going to the same place you are eventually. But bye, everyone. I'm out of time. Make it a great day, whatever you do. Remember, life is worth living. Live each day like a gift. And even if it doesn't feel like a gift, at the end of the day, just remember this. We're still on this planet for a reason. Let's affect change until we wake up one day and say, yep, still here. Okay, bye-bye, folks.